Hey guys, I just wanted to reach out to you and let you know that Surewinder is still selling amazing products. Some of you guys have been dragging your feet for whatever reason. If your shoulder hurts, do not waste time. Pull the trigger. I just bought 4 or 5 of them, and we had 2 guys out. You know how much it cost me to pay for 2 guys being out with bad shoulders? We just pulled the trigger and we said, listen, everybody's going to have one on a truck. It's mandatory. You got to use it. Don't hesitate. Don't wait till your guys go down. It's going to cost you more. Buy a Surewinder. It's not every day someone invents something that changes the game. I found out about this product that I'm talking to you about, and I had to try it. So I ordered a few, and after using it, I'm sold. Now we stock them on our trucks. It's called All Brace, and it will help you sell more service and buy you time until doors come in. There's never been a greater time for a product like this. Phil has a video on his website of him cutting a door literally in half, installing the All Brace, and running it like nothing ever happened. It is literally incredible. One of the greatest selling videos I've ever seen. You're going to want to check it out at all-brace.com.
So, hey, what's going on, everybody? My life has been upside down. I just got back from Costa Rica, where I had the pleasure of meeting a couple really cool people. Damon John, Jesse Etzler, who is now one of my favorite people on the planet. He's incredible. We got to meet Willie from, was it Duck Dynasty?
Oh, yeah. Robertson.
Yeah, I mean, I got to meet some cool people, learn some really cool stuff. I learned about dynamic ads and AdWords, and that's pretty cool. I learned a lot about that. There was a case study done, and the guy presented like all the details on what's better, like doing dynamic, where basically AI runs it versus like humans actually running it. And that was great. So my wife and I went to that conference. It was super educational. We also had a good time at the pool when the conference wasn't going on, and hanging out with some new friends. And then since I've been back, huge announcement. I was announced as the keynote speaker at WASA, which is going to be cool. So if you guys are planning on going to WASA or not planning on going, you should go. Make sure to book your ticket for that. I think it's free. You just got to get there. From what I saw. So that's really cool. It looks like some good stuff on the agenda. There's going to be lots of vendors. And then I believe I'm working on trying to get a speaking spot at IDA EduCon. Always feels weird saying that. EduCon.
I know. It's a mouthful.
Yeah. That's going to be in New Orleans, I believe, and Louisiana. Down south. How do you say it in like Louisiana voice? Rankin, you can probably do that, can't you?
Not a chance.
No? Okay.
Not a chance. I do horrible accents.
Do you?
Yeah, my wife makes fun of me.
Do you say Louisiana in Georgia? Is that how you say it?
I'm in Florida, so we probably do have a little bit of a southern drawl, but
we say Louisiana.
Louisiana. That's how I would.
Louisiana.
Louisiana.
Well,
I'm from Georgia, but people always make fun of me because I don't have an accent. I do on some words, but people would be like, "You're from Georgia?" I've lived here my whole life, except for like 6 months in Miami. But I gave away our guest today, Rankin from Service Spring.
Yay!
Thanks for having me,
like
Ryan.
Applause. We need like
more applause music. No.
And Kate can put in some applause.
Yeah. And then we have Tamara, our co-host.
It's me. Hello.
Who always breaks it up and makes the show better. So, Rankin, how you been, man?
Oh, we're good. Just enjoying the Florida heat and summer, and having a great time. Kids are getting back into school, so we're all busy starting up a lot of that stuff. And football started getting ready to start, so we're super excited about that. So good time of year. Love the fall.
You have kids playing football, or you just enjoy watching it?
All the above. So okay. I have 3 boys who play football, and so that's a lot of fun to watch.
Are you one of those intense dads who are like screaming from the sideline? No,
not at all.
All right.
I was going to say, it does not strike me as that at all.
I'm the most chill guy on the sideline ever.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah, I'll scream at the parents for being too loud because they get crazy. But
Yeah.
hey,
Football
just
in
let
the
the kids
South is
play.
just different.
It is.
It's a
It's pretty.
religion.
Yeah, it can be sometimes. I'll tell you.
Yeah. So I live in Buford, Georgia, and I will tell you that Buford football is, I mean, there's people across the country that know who we are because of our football program. Like, we put out D1 athletes every year, like
Oh yeah.
multiple, sometimes 4, 5, 6 kids go get D1 scholarships, that we win the championship like every year. We just opened the season with like one of the top teams in Alabama and beat them like 38-6. I mean, it's like, it's hardcore, right? I mean, they take it very, very seriously. If you're a coach and you're not winning championships, you're fired. So you got like 1 to 2 years.
I believe it.
So they don't change coaches very often, but when they do, it's pretty high pressure.
Big deal.
Yeah, it's like watching college football, though. I mean, they're like, it's pretty legit, and I'm friends with a lot of the coaches, so
Nice.
I see how intense they are. So it's pretty legit. They run it like a college program, though.
Yeah, no, we get it. Florida football, same way. We've got a couple of the academies here that are crazy.
IMG.
IMG, a lot of talented kids there. That's just a little bit south of me.
That's like a college.
Yeah, it pretty much, it's the training for the college. And now college, I guess, is semi-pro now that the kids are getting paid. So I guess is high school next? I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I don't know either. Great marketing opportunity with the NIL. I thought about getting into that with such and such.
Yeah.
All right. Nobody came on here to listen to football, maybe a few, but let's deep dive into some questions I think everybody might be interested in. Rankin's with Service Spring, and Service Spring is a supplier of ours over at Aaron Overhead Doors. Has been very good to us over the years. Our reps, phenomenal, always replies really quickly. We've had great customer service. You guys know how I am. I'm a little tough on the suppliers who cut corners and don't communicate and don't treat you well, but I'm also here to pump up the ones that do and let you guys know. And my relationship with Service Spring has been great. And honestly, I don't know I've ever heard anybody complain about their relationship with Service Spring. None of our GDU members, I've not had anybody, everybody's praising them pretty well. So I think that's a testament to the leadership. And I assume that probably starts with you. I know you won't take the credit, but
no, certainly not. We've got a great culture, and we're certainly not perfect. There's certainly some things to complain about, I'm sure, but we do really try to put the customer first and really live that out on a day-to-day basis. So it's not just a slogan for us, but it's really how we live and who we try to be. So
that's cool. So let's talk about everything that people would complain about. No, I'm just kidding. Wait a minute.
How much time you got,
Yeah.
especially lately with the pandemic and everything else? My goodness.
All right, so let's dive in. I made a list of questions, which is a little bit outside of my element, but I felt like this would be a good structure for us so I could stay on task. We got quite a few questions. We're going to try to knock this out in like 30 minutes or less. All right. How do you feel about where the market is today with supply chain issues? Have we improved a lot? Are we kind of the same? Has it just shifted? Give me some feedback.
Yeah, I think supply chains are really starting to catch up. And I think most people are feeling that lead times are starting to come down in many places. And I would just say there's probably a couple of reasons that's happening. And first of all, a lot of the people that supply us are starting to get good help and being able to hire people that make a lot of the things that we all use to fabricate and make the other finished goods. And second is the materials are finally starting to get healthy. And so just the physical raw materials that are flowing into the country and things, we're not getting the same sort of limitations that we had in the past. So that's huge. And the last thing I'd say is probably the panic buying. Folks are kind of starting to settle down a little bit on that and just getting what they need when they need it, where there was a season there that everybody just said, hey, we're going to buy every physical thing I can get my hands on. And man,
how's that affected you though? Like, I was thinking about this the other day because I'm sitting here thinking, when am I going to get a call from Craig? Like, bro, are you ever going to order from us or have you left it? But I mean, I bought so much that I'm sitting on inventory and, I gotta, like, I hired Joseph Roberts to help me with like CFO. Like he's kind of like a fractional CFO for me. And he came in, he's like, all right, let's take a look at inventory. And we're like, okay, cool. Here you go. It's like $300,000. And he's like, whoa, what? He's like, we got to get this down. This is where all your cash is at. So he's like, we need to cut it in half or more and blah, blah, blah. And so we're like trying to ride out some of our inventory and not order a bunch. And we were sitting on so much that it's like, okay, now we can start getting rid of it and not have to feel like we got to order, replenish.
We see that across the board. A lot of folks are pretty stocked up right now. And so that's also helped a little bit to kind of give us a breather where we can focus on getting caught up in some of the other places and
not great for cash flow for Service Spring, but great for getting caught up.
Well, certainly for anyone like that's sitting on that kind of inventory, that's never good for cash flow because it's, you can't turn into cash till it's sold. And so I think people are starting to get back to, hey, these are the routine orders of what we need. And that's huge for us because it gives us that steady demand, which is what we're all kind of built to do, where for a season there, it was like, hey, give us everything possible. And that was not good. So that messed all the manufacturers up for sure.
Your whole, like everything in the Orlando office, please.
Yeah. We heard it all. So I'll take everything you have was a common, order type for a while. And it's like, whoa. That's why allocations were big for us to try to slow people down and help them, and spread it out as much as we could. So,
and I imagine there's some people trying to plan like a monopoly on that, right? Like buy up all the inventory, raise the prices. I feel like that's kind of what happened with steel in the first place.
Sure. You have some of that. And then there's just a lot of people that were scared of, hey, I don't know when I'm going to be able to buy this again. And this is, I can't run my business without doors or springs or whatever. And so I'm going to get everything I can just to support and take care of my, backyard. So we get that. But it made it tough. There's no doubt.
Yeah. All right. So, when I watch the markets, you see the ups and downs, the inconsistencies. We had Majestic Steel on here. What was it today?
The episode released today. Yes. But for everybody else, it'll be last week.
Yeah. And we're talking about, how prices of product have come down, like raw material, but the middleman really hasn't seen that effect yet. How are you, like, when do you think that garage door dealers will see, or will we see a decrease in price on material?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think it does depend on what material, you're referring to. And I think steel is certainly a large input that we watch. Obviously in spring manufacturing and door manufacturing, steel is a major component, but I think there's a lot of other things at play that, people aren't talking about. It's, it's the price of gas. And we say, oh, wow, it's down to $4.25 a gallon now. We're all excited because it used to be $5. And it's like, dude, a year ago, it was like $2.21.
Yeah. I just wanted to give a shout out. Thank you, Biden, for getting the price of gas down.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Thank you.
From $5.50 to $4.25. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, huge
shout out
there.
You're the best.
Yeah, and inflation's the same way. We're hovering in that, 8.5%, and we're like all excited because it was 9 last month. And so you start to ask these questions like, hey, things are getting better. And you're like, no, it's still 8.5%. That means a year from now, everybody's 8.5% in the hole. And that's, I think, you got the president saying, look, there's zero inflation. It's like, he's quoted saying that. And it's like, I think that's just kind of the disconnect right now that a lot of people have with, I know like the normal person gets it. They understand it. They're filling their tank.
So are you saying that it's Biden's fault, the reason why we're not getting prices going down?
Well, I'm certainly not blaming it on any one single individual, but I think
I like to have fun.
These are macroeconomic factors that play a role, right, in the pricing of everything. Freight is still not where we want it to be yet. So, getting these materials from point A to point B, still part of it. Now, yes, we're starting to see like the indexes of steel start to move a bit. But by the time that does eventually start to translate, it takes time because all of those stockpiles of inventory in all these different places have to catch up with that. So we're optimistic, yes, like everyone else, that, hey, things really do seem to be starting to head in that direction. But there's some other things I think that have to start to move, because labor rates are a big one too. And you talk about inflation, like, man, think of your average person that's working, wherever. It's like a year from now, if you make the same amount of money, you now make 8.5 to 9%, maybe 10% less. That's
Yeah,
crazy. You give somebody a
100%.
10% raise and they just say, well, I'm back to square one.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a lot, and so that's real for people. And so I think that impacts the price of all of these goods we're talking about.
Yeah.
So
Well, we
yeah,
can say
again,
definitely like demand is slowed. You're starting to see companies that were like aggressively recruiting now laying people off like left and right, which is crazy. So the job market, the reports haven't been like they haven't I think shown what's happening now yet, but I think you're going to start to see the job market starting to look really bad. I think you're going to have a lot of people laid off, which is going to mean, more people looking for jobs. But the people that were recruiting and way overpaying to get talent, they're going to be hurting here soon, or laying people off. And, you talk like I was talking to Allison, one of the new people here, such and such media. We were talking about this, like, there's people in the technology industry and the marketing industry who are hiring people at 30, 40, 50% higher than normal, trying to grab as much people as possible to take advantage of the rush and the opportunity. And now they're doing massive layoffs, but guess who they're laying off? The people that they hired for 30, 40, 50% higher.
absolutely.
So, I think you're going to see, it'll be good, 6 months from a year to now. I think we're going to see some stabilization, and we're going to be able to be looking at payroll and be like, hey, listen, all right, now we need to be here. But the people who like knee jerk reacted, I think it's going to suck for them for quite some time.
Yeah, no, I would have to agree with everything you just said. And so hopefully we are heading to that place, but and then what's around the corner too, that's what's always a little bit scary. Is there another wave of this or that? It's always tough to say, and so we're taking it one day at a time and just trying to make the best decision, that we can right now. So,
and on a lighter note, right, like these things challenge us, and humans by nature, we're like extremely adjustable. Like we're able to adapt. And you see things like, the freight issue. Well, you got, on the flip side, you're kind of like looking at Elon's pumping this like autonomous, 18 wheeler, right? How efficient is that going to be? Or on the flip side, how many people is it going to kill? But so like, you got a lot of question marks, right? But at the same time, you're sitting here like, it's creating innovation and opportunity in the marketplace. And if you're listening and paying attention, you can take advantage of those. One thing, I don't know, are you familiar with Illumador?
I've definitely heard of them. Yep.
So I'm not an Illumador dealer, but I was talking to one of their reps, and they have like a really unique model I thought was cool for like a door manufacturer. And they focus mostly on glass doors.
Yeah.
But they do like manless pickup. So for example, what they'll do is they'll go in and they'll create like a warehouse, and they have a delivery driver come, and I guess they organize it really nicely. They have cameras and a little key code where when you get there, you're given a key code, you type it in, you go in, you get your door, you load it up, door closes. The cameras monitor everything to make sure that, you didn't drop it and say it was their fault, the glass was broken or whatever. And, or take something that's not yours. But that's pretty cool. Like when you're talking about innovation and trying to find ways to reduce cost, to me, like I know a lot of people will probably be like, oh, well, that's poor customer service, whatever. But to me, I love that. Right. I mean, it's kind of like my bank. Do I want to like figure out the 45 minutes I need to drive to my bank and go in there and like see them face to face in order to transfer money or whatever? No, like give me the app and let me just do it myself. I think that's super friendly. And I don't have to worry about with Illumador. You don't have to worry about picking it up during business hours. You can go whenever you want. I just think that's really cool.
That is neat. That's a great idea. But you're right. That's the innovation that people are looking at that I think are going to help us in the long run. We can't solve everything with labor, so you've got to find those sort of opportunities. That's smart.
Yeah, I think so. Are there any parts still that are maybe hard to get, or you guys are still struggling to fulfill?
Yeah, the two couple big ones that I would say, first would be any long steel item. This would be like track, tube shaft, angle. Some
That's
of those
just from
are,
the shipping, right?
yeah, shipping. Those are lagging behind. I think I would say major door OEMs are still catching up on those items too. So I think they're still buying them in like crazy quantities, not leaving a lot extra out in the market. So and the last one would be doorstop. We're seeing shortages on, like stop molding and things like that, doorstop, and that's one that we're watching closely to see where that's going to go. But kind of those two categories, I would say, are the two that we've seen lag behind the rest thus far.
Yeah,
Um,
that's interesting. What do you think is causing the doorstop?
I think that's just another one. It's just the demand is still crazy. They got really far behind, and I just don't think they've caught up yet. Where I think different groups and different companies, there's not a ton of doorstop suppliers. You've got really two major ones in the U.S. that you can buy from, and when one of them has an issue or gets behind, that's a big part of it. And then I think also they look at other items that they were able to make during the pandemic, that they had to make some hard business decisions of how much doorstop do we make and how much of this do we make. And I know they, were trying to run as much of everything, these big chemical companies figuring out, hey, how do we, appease all these industries and things. So I know that's all part of it. So,
Yeah. I think a lot of companies right now are looking at streamlining stuff. I remember, I think it was Amar, like reduce their colors and stuff like that. I mean, I think that's smart. I mean,
yes.
And they even reduced their product line, which I don't even know why they had so many to begin with. And it's like hindsight right now. Like,
yes.
You're probably like the CEO of Amar wondering, like, why didn't we think about this before? We have like two doors that look exactly alike and we sell them at almost the same price. Like, it's
no,
like
he's gonna watch this and shake his head for sure. Yeah. And it's like, why did we not get to that sooner? And
right. But
yeah,
it's like,
smart.
you just don't think about stuff like that. You just evolve day to day. And so, yeah,
Totally. And I think there is a place where you're trying to differentiate yourself, and when everybody's got the same thing, you're like, well, we've got more options,
right?
And you really start to go down that rabbit hole, and then eventually you wake up, like you're saying, like, why do we have all this stuff?
Right.
Yep.
All right. So you guys, and if this is a sensitive subject and you don't want to talk about it, that's okay. But I do feel like this is a good opportunity to lay some more out there. But you guys made a little bit of a tough decision, I think, during the pandemic. That was, you guys cut off suppliers and really focused on dealers. And there was even mixed reviews in some of the groups about your intentions and motives for this from even some of the dealers, which I thought was really weird, because I think the whole decision was to try to drive more supply for the dealers. So can you tell me now, like, what motivated that? And then looking back at it today, was that still a good decision?
Yeah. So, since 1962, we've been, built for the small dealer, medium-sized dealer. And over time, we got into selling pretty much everyone in the entire industry. And when the pandemic hit, the demand that was coming in was such that we couldn't keep up with everyone. And so some really hard decisions had to be made. And we just decided, hey, let's, when something's got to give, let's go back to our roots. Let's focus on the dealer and let's make sure they have what they have. And at the end of the day, I think Service Spring's position was, look, these are the folks we want to stay in business. We don't want to see hundreds of dealers go out of business because maybe only the biggest dealers in the country can get what they need. And, they've got the buying power and ability. We tried to take care of everyone as much as possible, and it was tough. That's a really hard decision. Put yourself in a sales position, like shoes of like, do we not want to sell these people? Of course I do. I've got phone call after phone call coming into my office saying, hey, you're shutting us down. And these are major OEMs. These are major distributors. I mean, guys that were, I think my name was a swear word for a while. It may still be, but
I wasn't going to say anything,
but and then there's some bad press from the dealers, like, oh man, they're just focusing on dealers for maybe the wrong reasons, and nothing could be further from the truth there. We did everything in our power to free up capacity to keep the lights on for everybody. Yeah. And we often couldn't give everyone exactly everything they needed, but enough to get by. And that's where we felt like at the end of the day, we slept well knowing like, hey, we're taking care of the core of what we see as our market. And so in hindsight, would I do it again? Yes. Do we think it worked? Well, I haven't heard of a ton of dealers that we work with going out of business. During the pandemic, typically there were other reasons than supply, so it's a tough one. And I would say, that it didn't come easy. It wasn't a decision that, was made quickly or easy from our team. So, but yeah, I do think it helped, and it helped the key area. And now that we're kind of opening up, we're getting back to being able to help other people. And we see some folks that are like, yeah, we don't like you guys, and Rankin's name's a swear word, but we do need some help. So can we, and so we're kind of back to some of that. So
of course. What did you do for me today?
Yeah, that's what's tough. You got the loyalty of the dealers. Like these guys, they care about the things that Service Spring cares about, the customer service and the the lead times and all of our training products and everything. We put so much time and energy into those sort of things. We're like a distributor, man. If you're a half a penny high, we're gone. Like we care about none of that.
Yeah.
And in the time where it's the toughest and you've got to lock in with, it's like, what, who are you going to dance with, right? And it's like, that's the people that brought us here. Those are the folks we're going to focus on.
Yeah, I think, and that's huge, right? Because, I look back on some of the decisions we made, and it's really cool to be able to do that. Like take that time to be like, okay, we were faced with this. You couldn't tell the future, right? Like you didn't know how long this was going to last. You didn't know how bad it was going to get, how quick it was going to recover. You didn't know anything. So you're making decisions, part faith, part fear, with blind, just not knowing. None of us have ever been through anything like that.
Right.
So here we are, right? We're trying to make all these hard decisions, and we look back and we say, oh, wow, that was the right decision. I did good, and so
you hope so, right?
Yeah. And so like, we should know by now, honestly, whether a lot of those decisions were kind of the right or the wrong decision. And there might've been like some slight adjustments to decisions that we could have made, but I mean, I look at a lot of the door companies and I feel like a lot of them made good decisions during that time to do what they could. And, so there was a lot of like applause to everybody, because I feel like, for the most part, door companies did pretty well. I know there were some times where it was tight, but I'd never felt that. Maybe that's because I was a Service Spring customer. But doors, we were so blessed because we had, we ordered doors from like 8 to 10 different manufacturers, right?
Wow.
I was always given a hard time, and I don't negotiate discounts on entire lines of doors because I don't want to sell pan doors. So I tell manufacturers, you can charge me what you want on those, but on these doors, your high-end stuff, like this is where I need the help. And so, I think it's a good relationship, although some of them may not like the volume that we send them because we spread the love so much.
Mm-hmm.
But that was like super helpful to us, because here we are in the beginning of this thing, and we're like, we see, what was it? Clopay came out of the gate with like exceptional turnaround times. And so we were ordering tons of Clopay, and then they just fell off. And then CHI about that same time started kicking butt. And so we started ordering CHI, and we were able to flip flop, and that helped our business out tremendously with cash flow and everything else, because you're dealing with all these long lead times. So anyway,
consistency in everything, including price, reliability, quality, not just quality, but great quality control. These are things that describe Somer USA. Somer's not some startup company, not one that you need to be worried about going out of business in the near future. Somer and their family of businesses are $200 million companies. They're in over 100 countries, and they have locations in 20 countries. This is a large organization who stands behind their product and works through integrity. And there's not another company out there willing to drop what they're doing and help you out like Somer. These guys are awesome. Not only have they been loyal to the Torsion Talk podcast, they've been loyal to the technicians and the owners of the companies who install their product. In my opinion, if you're not at least offering Somer as an additional option, you're cheating yourself. Listen, first-time dealers, I've got a special for you. If you buy 10 or more Somers between now and the end of the season 6, while supplies last, we will offer you free shipping. You have no more excuses. The prices are great. The product is amazing. Go check out Somer USA and order 10 for free shipping. I'm going to tell you guys a marketing secret. You want to gain more social media likes, shares, and follows? People love unique and cool projects. There are no better photos to share than the ones on Schweiss Doors social accounts. These guys post some incredible things. Make sure to go there and like and share their Facebook and Instagram post with your business account. So if you like their business account, you can share their post. The bifold doors are awesome, and they're doing some great projects that will go viral on social media if you share them. Go right now to Schweiss Door on Facebook and check out some of the projects they share and like their page. Oh, and don't forget, no one builds a better bifold than Schweiss.
What are some of the most successful dealers doing that maybe some of the dealers that aren't as successful? What are some like things that you're seeing right now?
Yeah,
dealers are doing.
That's a great question, and I'd say probably the biggest thing from our perspective is their ability to upsell and to really charge the right value for the product. An example I'll give is, man, we put a new front door on my father-in-law's house, and it's beautiful, but it's maybe 8 foot by 7 foot, whatever, and that thing was like $5,500. And installed, done. It's like, and I was like just blown away. I'm like, wait, the 16 foot by 7 foot moving wall on the side of the house is a fraction of that cost. And so like, I think what we oftentimes struggle with as dealers and our industry is to really sell the value of what we're doing and why we do it. And oftentimes it's like, hey, give me the least expensive parts possible so I can charge my customer the least amount as physically possible. And that's going to be my deal. And I don't want that as a customer. I don't think most customers do. I think we want to be presented with options and let us use our brains to say like, wow, okay, there's a camera on the operator. Do I want that? Maybe I don't. Maybe I do. At least I know about it and have an option to purchase that. And that's where the margins are for a lot of our dealers and where the value gets created for their business. And I think they just struggle sometimes to believe it. And last thing I'd say is like our industry.
I know it's like, it's so like validating for us.
And put that as our like headline for this podcast.
You're spot on.
The Holy
say
Spirit.
Those things all the time.
Oh, isn't it crazy? Like I've done some like IDA seminars and things like trying to teach like, hey, there's extra stuff you guys could do and not be afraid. And it's not, again, there's a differentiation between I go into someone's house that doesn't need something and sell them something they literally don't need because it's not broken or it doesn't need replaced, and I lie to them like that. That's truly what a bad Bob is. But I think our industry is like started to label everybody that goes in and says, hey, there's value in what we do, and we're gonna not apologize for that and charge accordingly for it. and generate value for our industry, like that is like lost somewhere. And so I'm
Rankin,
kind of on a soapbox a little bit here, but it's like that's a big one, you know?
Oh,
just kidding.
yeah.
All right. So we talk a lot about this at GDU, right? So we have a mastermind group for door companies where owners, we got like what, 30, 31, something.
30, yeah.
So we meet, we have one group that meets monthly and the other groups meet weekly. And we deep dive into this and we talk about it. And then I'm doing sales training. And one of the things that I do is I go into a business and I sit there and talk to them, their service guys, about, hey, I'm not like you. I'm not, right? You come to my house and you present me with all the technology on the opener. I'm going to be like a little nerd. I'm going to be like, you mean I can open and close my phone and then I can watch, from my phone, the camera, and the light turns on automatically and it's LED and it's super bright. You mean I can put the motor on the side over there and I don't have to see it hanging down from that ugly, metal stuff? Like, this is what I was like before I got into the garage door industry. And they're like, yeah. And you mean to tell me that I can put all the hardware off this door and put all new on and I don't have to worry about anything for a long time? Yeah. Do it, bro. Like,
yes.
Ow, please. And that's just like, I was like that. I picked the biggest package. I still am. Pick the biggest package. I spend the most money. And then I'm tipping the guy. I'm ordering him pizza and I'm bringing him water. Like I spoil the contractors. I always have, because I've always admired. And then I'm the guy that does want to watch because I'm like, wow, this is cool. And like my friends will call me like, bro, I gotta call you back. This dude's like changing out springs and installing. And
it's looking dangerous. I gotta go.
So this is like, I was fascinated, right? So I looked at contractors like, dude, I wish I could do what you do. So I perceived them as having so much value, right? But then these people would come in my house and be like, oh, I'll do it for 400. And I'd be like, really? Can you do it twice? What I'm saying? Like, I mean, can I prepay for the next time? Because it's so cheap. And so I think getting these, I tell people that I'm a different shopper. I buy once, right? Once you get to a certain place in your life, maybe I was just like that my whole life. I was trained to buy the best so you don't have to worry about it. It's convenience, this and that. And I've had times in my life where I've had to sacrifice that because of, money, cash flow or whatever.
Sure.
But I teach that, and it's freeing for guys who accept it and understand that people do buy wants. Even if it doesn't need to be replaced, it's okay to be honest with them. Listen, your opener's fine. It'll probably last you a couple more years, maybe more. But if you want to upgrade to the newest technology with all this like latest security and all this stuff, this is what it does. Do you want it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do. And it's quiet.
100% agree, man. Like you got people that'll just, they want to beat us up for like, hey, $1 a spring. And it's like, why don't you spend $5 more, get premium springs, and go double the price to the homeowner because you sell the value to them, right? And it's like, hey, look, we're going to warranty this. We're never going to have to come back for this. Like you're saying, it's like, and it's that they're on the wrong side of like trying to fix this problem. It's like, man, kill the cost. And then what happens is too, is like when everything is so inexpensive and cheap and coming, into the country and not of high value, like the homeowner's not happy at the end of the day because it's loud and it's, it doesn't last. And then at the end, they're like, man, what, now I'm replacing it. And so like, think of the other side of the equation. I always tell people, it's like, no, how do you do more? Because it's really not that expensive to get that upgraded, a little bit thicker gauge hinge or, a higher cycle spring or these sort of things. It's like, yeah, I spent a little more, but man, then I took that value and I sold it. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I made more money as a door dealer. And that's what it's about. These people like not killing themselves for pennies against the local competition for, these doors. It's sometimes it's crazy in my mind,
So along these lines, I started putting together a package of a product that I actually found out about at Expo, and we've ordered a bunch of them from you guys. It's Stealth Hardware.
Yeah.
I think Joseph's a great guy, but the product that he's got is really cool. If you guys haven't checked this out, it's actually a hinge. He's even got like a little display where you can kind of like flap the two hinges, like a standard hinge and his hinge, and his makes virtually no noise at all.
Yeah.
There's no metal on metal.
Nope.
And the other ones, you know, they're like clanking as you bump them up and down. And so when you show customers that and they're like, oh, wow, like it'll, and you tell them, listen, there's a couple components that make your door as noisy it is. You know, you've got this Genie screwdriver that's 15 years old, that's rattling, you know, the ceiling. You got hinges that are screeching to the top of their lungs, and I can lubricate them. It's going to come back in 6 months.
Yep.
And your rollers, and you know, I can replace all this stuff. And we put together this bundle, right? And when we install it, especially on like single doors, customers like, oh my God, can you do this on my other door? You know, and it's not cheap. Like we price it up, you know, like we put a whole package together with a new motor, and it's called our Quiet Performance Package. And this thing's like legit, but you ain't got to worry about nothing for a long time. What are some other packages that you've seen or that you guys sell, bundles that dealers might be doing to utilize some stuff like that to maybe offer some wants or some upgraded products?
Yeah, I think you're spot on, right? I mean, you mentioned some of the big ones that are like really tangible for people, like the sound, you know, quality, like upgrading your hinge quality, like you're saying. We offer some powder coated options on many different products now that not only are higher quality, but they look nice. I'd say the powder coated springs, another big one. We have a lot of folks coming in and doing their company color to kind of differentiate, you know, from everyone else. And
Tommy Cummings. The old overhead door in Alabama, he started doing it. He did the blue, and he said, dude, it's amazing. He's like, when I whip that out, everybody's like, ooh, that's the one I want.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, what difference does it make? There's like, it's black or blue. You don't even see it hardly. And he's like, bro, people like aesthetics, like make it pretty and people pay for it. And so
there's no doubt. Well, yeah, and you can high cycle it too. You know, instead of going with a 10,000 cycle, maybe you go with a 25,000 cycle. Again, you pay a little bit more for that spring, but in comparison to the value to a homeowner of like, hey, look, we're not going to be here in, you know, 5 to 7 years. This is good for like 20, you know, and that's huge for them. You know, it's all part of it. And so those things, again, they just double in value in the eyes of the homeowner, and they may be 10, 15, 20% more for your cost. And it's like, well, there's value created there for you as a dealer. So I love how you guys are doing that.
Stealth hardware and powder coated springs. There's you a bundle right there.
Yeah.
Now, the Stealth hardware, like it comes with hinges, a sleeve, a lock washer type deal, and rollers. And it's not cheap. Like if you're going in to buy it and you're like, oh, hinges, they're like $1 a piece. Not this, right? Like you're not paying for a hinge, you're paying for the technology, I think, that went into the hinge, but it's not cheap. And so you got to sell it like it's not cheap.
Right.
I mean, you know, if you're paying $200 for a box of hinges and rollers delivered, you got to charge $400 for it. Well, you don't have to. And just a disclaimer, you can charge whatever you want. I'm not price fixing. But like, you know, you double the price of that and then you add your labor. And so, but what happens is when you do it, you're like, you run it and the customer's like, holy cow, that's quieter than it was when it was brand new. Yes. Right. And you got like a 10-year-old door with no cracks, you know, the hinge, the sections are in great shape. Customers happy with the aesthetics. Let's just swap out the hardware and then you're good. And my company offers like a longer warranty, all this stuff. It's great. Anyway, moving on. Do you guys ever do any like testing or research and development on products that you sell? Curious about rollers and the lifespan of them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, probably, you know, being a spring manufacturer, that's where we do most of our testing. We've got all kinds of testing equipment for springs and we're testing them all the time. So that's definitely the majority of our testing. Most of the testing on the other products we're distributing are done by the manufacturer themselves. And I've seen some cool kind of roller testing and how they hook them up on a table and they spin them around for like days and days and just see how many rotations of like each, you know, roller head and in constant contact on metal. And and they're very well tested. And so pretty much every lot that you're buying has had rollers go into that testing methodology, but there's a big difference, like we just mentioned, like the cheapest roller, no bearing, it's not gonna last. And then you go into something where you got like an 11 ball, or something that's really nice with a nylon tire and built to last forever, and essentially, and so there's a huge difference there, that people need to recognize and go, hey, maybe the builder grade hardware is not always the answer for everyone.
Right.
So yeah, testing is a big part of what we do, and that's just to make sure that the stuff that's coming in for us is what we expect it to be.
Yeah.
Because steel all the time is changing. All American steel is made out of scrap, essentially. We talk about, so you hope the steel companies are always getting it right, but we want to make sure that those springs are going the distance every
Right.
time. So
Good for you. So since the acquisition of Precision, it's brought the attention to a lot of like private equity groups. I'm getting emails all the time from private equity firms asking for a meeting or telling me that they're interested in investing in my company. Now, I think a lot of that may have brought attention to Nucor into our industry. Who knows? But what do you make of the Nucor CHI acquisition, and how do you think that's going to affect our industry? And we got 9 minutes. I got 3 more questions, so you got to go fast.
Perfect. So yeah, I think private equity can be a good or bad thing. Places where they're good is they typically have a lot of resources and can inject those resources quickly into an industry. So if a industry is under-resourced, well, hey, we need additional capacity and we need new innovation and those sort of things. Private equity can sometimes, because they've got the deep pockets, bring that to the table. The negative can be they're not as involved, they're not as educated on the space. They can sometimes tend to push companies in directions that are very short-term minded, instead of taking the long run approach of, hey, we're going to invest for a 10-year play, but it's going to be better for everybody. They're not making decisions like that typically. It's, hey, how can we make money quickly and sell this? So those are some of the positive negatives of equity companies coming in and buying and moving. So all of them are kind of yet to be seen. There are some very positive companies we see, and then there's some very negative. So I wouldn't say Nucor is going to do a good job or bad job. We will see as far as how that goes.
What do you think is going on with LiftMaster? They seem to be pushing tech really hard right now. They just eliminated the 85401 and they rolled back out with basically the same. It looks like the same operator with a camera on the bottom. So now they essentially have like 2 elite models, sort of say, based on their previous type of model line. And they also seem to be having a lot of supply chain issues. What are you hearing? What's going on?
Yeah, so I have the unique privilege of talking with Jeff Meredith, their new CEO, and he comes from a tech background, previously with Lenovo, and his vision is really interesting, and he sees a lot of opportunity in this space to expand what the typical dealer can do with these products. And so I think the biggest thing is what LiftMaster is seeing is the dealer will go out, install an operator that has a lot of this technology, whether it's a camera or Wi-Fi. They will do nothing to hook it up, install it. They leave, a truck pulls in behind them, and it's basically all of your guys that do home automation, and they're gonna hook up the operator, they're gonna put a camera on that, they're gonna make sure everything's working in conjunction. It's like, wait a minute, if that guy just knew how to do that, he could have doubled the invoice and maybe tripled it, because it's not cheap and people are willing to pay for it. So Jeff is seeing this and he's going like, what are we doing? A lot of this opportunity is still here and it's for our folks. And so I think he's really trying to get ahead of that and the opportunity to provide that service, and honestly just make products simple so that, the dealer is like, hey, I don't have to be a rocket scientist or an electrical engineer to hook this stuff up. I can go in and quickly understand this and make sure I, get these things to play well together. And so that is really the technology push I see from LiftMaster. And it's sometimes on the bleeding edge that our industry may not be ready for, but man, I got to agree that he's on the right path there. because you're talking $1 billion+ one of the fastest growing industries, home automation and these sort of things. Yep. That the typical door dealer right now is going to say, we don't want any part of that. We don't need any part of that. And we're saying like, no. You're missing out on what could be. And it's visionaries like that, like Jeff, that are able to see some of that before it happens. Right. So last I would say is like from a supply standpoint, we know LiftMaster had a tough, 6 weeks where they pretty much couldn't ship anything. They're not happy about that. We're not happy about that. No one's happy about that. And that hurt their supply chain. But thankfully, they got things put together before that. They got a lot shipped out before that, and then they've really worked hard to catch up from that. So, I don't see that being a consistent thing for them. I see them getting that fixed pretty quickly. So hopefully that's in the past.
Good deal. You guys provide training. I think do like live training sometimes. And I think you even guys have like pre-recorded trainings on certain stuff. Can you tell us a little bit about how we can get involved in that? Like, where do we find out about it and where do we go to watch them?
Yeah, so recently we've done a couple of live trainings with Dave Mountain. I think he was out at your guys' place. Dave is absolutely incredible. I would say, if not the best, one of the best trainers in our entire industry. So I couldn't recommend him enough. And so we've done a couple events throughout the country. He's got a couple more scheduled with us that we're going to do this year. I would just say what's a little bit crazy is the lack of people that show up for some of those things. So I would just encourage everybody listening to this, like, to make that time when you see those events, like, get out there and be a part of them because they are valuable. It's not just another, poor training. Like, Dave is amazing. And so be a part of that if you can. And then we have on our website, as long as you have a login to our website, which pretty much every dealer on the planet can, and it's easy to get a login. You don't even have to buy from us. You just have to be a dealer. We don't want homeowners going on our site, these sort of things. There are like 100 videos to train people and to help them through all kinds of things. When you onboard somebody, the typical process is, hey, throw him in the truck with Jimmy and let him roll around for 2 weeks, and then maybe he'll be on his own in a month or so. Yep. We can do a lot more to help with that, especially in the front end of those conversations of what is a spring and what is a garage door opener. We've got all these installation videos and things that you can get on, and it's all free. Just let those guys maybe spend a couple days so you're talking the same language. They have some sort of context of what's going on. And so those are probably two of the biggest things I would mention, Ryan, as far as the training goes. And ultimately at Service Spring, we're happy to help with anything. We've got engineering apps for your phone, and we're happy to help people learn how to use those. And so we really do try to invest into the dealer in those ways. So.
Well, I hope your dealers appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You have a good insight into what's going on because you are, you're selling product to dealers, you're selling product maybe now to suppliers. So I really appreciate what you do for air and overhead doors, but I also appreciate what you do for the industry. The app is amazing. Your customer service is amazing. Even when we just called normal support, I've even called support because I couldn't, I can't remember whether the cell service was bad or whatever. I couldn't get the app to open, but I could make phone calls. It was just enough for a phone call.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, I know this is crazy, but would you help me? And she was like, yeah, absolutely. What you got?
Sure.
I'm like, what? Are you freaking kidding me? This is awesome, right? So don't recommend flooding their support team with phone calls on what spring to put on your door. But if you don't have enough cell service to open the app, I thought that was really cool that she was willing to help me. But overall, man, I really appreciate you coming in and doing the podcast. You're a great friend of ours here at Torsion Talk, and hope to get to do more stuff with you.
No, thank you. Appreciate it as always. And, we love watching the show as well. So it's neat to be a part of it.
Thank you. Yep. We're going to hope to get back to that soon. We stopped recording for a little bit. We're going to try and do a little bit better planning and roll back out. So
awesome.
Hopefully soon. All right. Thank you guys for following along with Torsion Talk Podcast. If you are not checking us out on Facebook, make sure that you like our Facebook page, and hope to catch you soon. Make sure to hit me up too on Facebook. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm good at making connections. If you have any questions about Service Spring, happy to answer them. Hit me up. Talk to you soon.